Okay, so I really didn't think I'd make a video like this. I mean, quite frankly, I didn't really want to either because I just didn't feel that I needed to. And holy shit, let me just kill that volume. But I didn't think I'd need to either, quite honestly. Um, but with the new update being announced and Gaijin adding yet another Hornet to the US tech tree that's going to come right after this one, I think it's kind of appropriate to mention that this thing is not. This thing at top tier is not great. Oh, my bad. This thing at top tier is not great. Um, it it's not terrible, and it's not the worst thing. And the F18A here is certainly better, but in terms of actual like top tier aircraft, the Hornet's just it's just not. I mean, I don't have it spaded, yeah, so you can pick on me all you want, but it really isn't that fun to play. And yeah, sure, you get C5s and you get Bs, but in the same breath, this thing is also like completely. It's subsonic and it really can't take much advantage of that just because of how slow it actually is. And I say subsonic pretty loosely. It is technically capable of doing supersonic speeds, but it's just the output of thrust that the Hornet has is not. It really isn't great. Yeah, so that's 7,570 out of that, which means it produces less thrust, almost the same thrust as an F-16. This thing is only 3,000 short, but if that doesn't kind of illustrate that the F-18 really kind of, it's just not great. I don't. It comes after the F-14, and the F-14, well, it's not anything special either anymore. It still has its own unique kind of characteristics, especially with the AIM-54, because this thing kind of made top tier unplayable for a while, just because the AIM-54s, the AIM-54A and the AIM-54C, on both planes, I mean, the F-14B still isn't anything to mess around with. It's still capable enough, but then when you come after it, you get the late Hornet. And I'm not saying it's the worst aircraft in the game by any standard. I think that title could easily go over here to Britain and easily go to this right here. At least for top tier. The Tornadoes have never been great, but this thing is especially awful. Uh, I think that says everything it needs to say. You get 4 AIM-120s, and then you can carry 4 Sidewinders, so you get 8 missiles total, but it's a Tornado at 12 or 13. No, that's right, 13.0. I don't know why I thought I was wrong there, but yeah, and especially because the Hornets tree is longer and more arduous to grind than the F-15E, it just makes no sense. Because if we put the F-15E in here, this thing, right, it has way better selection of weapons, but also the F-15E is capable of up to Mach 2, which means there's not really a reason to play the Hornet, because the Hornet just isn't, it's just not good. I mean, it's not the most incapable aircraft ever, but it's kind of slow. It does maneuver really well. I will say that much. It does pull pretty hard, but all things considered, it really isn't great, and it doesn't have good energy retention for that pull. So, I mean, while you, yes, can permissibly one circle with it, the second you get into your two circle and more, like, dogfight, you're kind of done for in the Hornet. Like, as far as it's concerned, especially because the Hornet just, it doesn't accelerate terribly well to begin with. It, like, it definitely can go. It definitely can go pretty quick, but it doesn't. Its acceleration is kind of sucky, and if my game lags at all here, it's It's my bad. I'm using wireless right now, so if it gets me, but yeah, and what do I say about this? Really, other, I need to turn that down. That is abysmal. There we go, that's much better. But the Hornet, right, let alone the Super Hornet, is already not great. And I think them adding another Hornet is not going to go very far for the game. I think it's going to be kind of dead on arrival. And they're going over to Japan, and they're adding another Japanese Hornet. They're adding the F18E for Japan. Not E, D for Japan, which is a Legacy Hornet twin-seater, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's going to be even more dead on arrival than the Super Hornet already will be. Because I feel like the Super Hornet is just it's kind of like the Golden Eagle. So the Golden Eagle is the F-15C. It's just a better radar on a platform, and it's not really much other than that. And it's definitely not an unwelcome addition to the game. They could, realistically, have just added nothing for the US, so it's not like I'm complaining, because we are getting new stuff. But I am saying, though, is it doesn't seem like it's going to be terribly useful, all things considered. And beyond, it being not terribly useful, it doesn't have a reason to be grinded out, because it's a bunch of RP, because it's not going to be foldered, and now you need to grind a ton of RP for an aircraft that isn't necessarily better than the older Legacy Hornets in terms of any performance metric, and actually may even perform worse in the performance department than Legacy Hornets in terms of actual gameplay, because it doesn't carry anything new, while being heavier and having a slightly better radar. And even though it's getting NIE as a radar, the Hornet's radar isn't bad. It's not bad at all. It is a very solid radar set in it, and it is very capable. So I don't really know what they're thinking, because it just doesn't seem like it's gonna be a good aircraft or have any reason to be played. And I say that from a place of having played a lot of top tier, that I don't think it's gonna be that great, all things considered. I mean, the Hornet's already not terrible, but it really doesn't have much going for it by comparison. I'm probably dead here. Yeah. But, like I was saying, the Hornet really doesn't have that much going for it, all things considered. But here we are in the F-18A Hornet, which is my personal favorite Hornet, because this one is actually pretty cool. And also you can see little reflections there. I think that's also pretty cool. On PC is so much better on console, and if you notice the little quality jump from the last video I made, from anything I made before, that's why. It's because I'm on PC now, so videos are going to be coming a little bit more often, and they're also going to be coming in much better quality. Anyway, back to what I was saying, though. This Hornet, by comparison to the Super Hornet and the other Hornet, it's not even a competition. This Hornet is so much better. And it kind of is that thing of the BR difference between this Hornet and the other Hornets that keeps that for it, because in a down tier, this thing is pretty threatening to anything around it. And while it might struggle from the same issues the F-18C has, it's not exacerbated because this is at a much lower BR, so it fights less capable things. Meaning, it is more capable than the F-18C. Maybe not on paper or in a vacuum, because the F-18C still has better weapons, it still has all that, but it doesn't have the BR. And I think having the BR is way more important than having the capability, because the BR actually matters. Because you can have better weapons all you want, but if you're fighting something that is just better or at a higher BR, it's just not, you're just not going to be capable. Also, I am turning off radio communications, 'cause holy. I'm sorry about if everything I just said in the past, like, couple minutes was completely inaudible. I need to change my settings every time I record, so... It looks like we got a premium Hornet. Something fired on us. Could be Iranian Tomcat, maybe? But regardless, I think the early Legacy Hornet might be the best Hornet, all things considered. In terms of capabilities at its BR, it absolutely crushes the other Hornet. And it's not even close. The Legacy F-18A is just a beast of an aircraft. I need to get low here. But the Legacy F-18 is just so much better than anything after it, that it's not even worth a competition about, just because... There we go. I finally did it in AIM-7P, but like I was saying, the Legacy F-18A is just so much better than any other kind of Hornet, just because of its BR being so much lower than other Hornets. And sure, it doesn't get the weapon systems, and you can see I'm still kind of spading it out, and I just now got the targeting pod a bit ago. But this thing, relative to its BR, is just so much better, just because of the sake that you get these right here. You get 4 radar missiles, or the option of 6 IR and 2 radar missiles, just makes this thing a monster at its BR. And for close air support, this thing's also pretty good, because it gets walleyes and a targeting pod. So while it might not be as high of a BR, and it might not have the same capabilities as the other Hornets, it really is a lot better when you put it like it. And I think the Hornet doesn't really have a game issue. I think the Hornet has a BR issue. And I think the Hornet stems from BR compression, because realistically, what makes this equivalent to this in terms of BR? These are both 14.0, and they're both claimed to have the same capability then, but there's really no credible reason for them to be the same BR. And this is going to run much longer than some of my other videos, and I think my recording time's getting there, but this is where I'm going to end this off and just saying, I don't think the Super Hornet, or the F-18D for that matter, are going to be good on arrival. I think they're going to be dead on arrival, and I don't think it's going to matter how much they buff them, how much they change them on the dev server. I don't think that they can make the Hornet realistically work, just because of the things laid out in this video, that they just, I don't think they're going to make them work, honestly. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.